Not only are the spin axes of galaxies and the cosmic microwave radiation aligned with Earth, the distribution of galaxies shows they lie mainly in concentric spheres around the Earth. This new evidence for a galactocentric or geocentric universe was discovered from the 2005 Sloan Digital Sky Survey by physicist John Hartnett of the University of Adelaide. Hartnett found that not only do the galaxies lie on concentric spheres, the population of these galaxies decreases symmetrically as their distance from Earth increases. The importance of these observations is that only from an Earth-based vantage point can these two stunning celestial proportions be seen. In other words, if one were to view these galaxies from another part of the universe, the distinct concentric formation and the distance-related symmetrical density would not appear. This means that the Earth must be in the center of all the universe's galaxies. In addition to concentric galaxy distribution, the quasar distribution in the universe follows the same pattern. First, there is a noticeable void area in the center, which is the observation point and is necessarily occupied by the Earth. The first to discover this unique quasar distribution was Y.P. Varshney. In his 1975 paper, published in Astrophysics and Space Science, Varshney describes his discovery as follows.
In other words, assuming the cosmological redshift hypothesis, the quasars are arranged on 57 spherical shells, with the Earth in the center. This is certainly an extraordinary result. Some of the possibilities that we shall consider to accommodate this result may be disturbing, but we must consider these possibilities dispassionately.
Varshney is one of the few refreshing voices from modern science who sought to consider the empirical evidence dispassionately. This unbiased perspective allows him to consider that a very likely possibility for the evidence he is finding is, as he states it,
the Earth is indeed the center of the universe. The arrangement of quasars on certain spherical shells is only with respect to the Earth. These shells would disappear if viewed from another galaxy or quasar. This means that the cosmological principle will have to go. It also implies that a coordinate system, fixed to the Earth, will be a preferred frame of reference in the universe. Consequently, both the special and general theory of relativity must be abandoned for cosmological purposes.
These results were confirmed again in 2001 by a Ukrainian astronomical team who, like Varshney, understood this astounding evidence as a nullification of the Big Bang and Einstein's theories. They write,
regularity in quasar allocation, revealing that quasars are grouped in thin walls of meshes, with quasars' spatial distribution in spherical and Cartesian coordinates. It's impossible to term these results and the results of other similar investigations as ordinary, accidental coincidence. Obviously, we have the facts confirming that the quasars are distributed uniformly in the universe. It confirms the concept of the stationary, inconvertible universe, and to reject the concept of a dynamic, dilating universe which was erroneously formed in the 20th century and taking a beginning from a so-called Big Bang. Such a model is based on the non-steady solutions of the Einstein equations obtained by Soviet geophysicist and mathematician Friedmann at the beginning of the 1920s, and the concept of the exploding commencement in the dynamics of the universe advanced by American physicist Gamow at the end of the 1940s.
Michael Longo of the University of Michigan said much the same with a paper he wrote in 2012. Longo shows that quasars form concentric rings with a bullseye centered around the Earth. Longo writes,
a careful look at the angular distribution of quasar magnitudes shows a surprising intensity enhancement, with a bullseye pattern towards alpha delta, approximately 195 degrees by 0 degrees for all wavelengths, from ultraviolet through infrared.
Similar to his findings about the orientation of galaxies, Longo also admits that the quasars are aligned with the cosmic microwave radiation, which alignment is known as the axis of evil. He writes,
"The direction of the quasar intensity enhancement is also close to that of the so-called axis of evil, a name coined by K. Land and J. Maguejo to describe the anomalies in the low multiples of the CMB toward alpha delta, approximately 173 degrees by 4 degrees.
Another Earth-centered celestial phenomenon is gamma-ray bursts. The book was published by Oxford University Press in 2002 titled The Biggest Bangs, The Mystery of Gamma-Ray Bursts, the Most Violent Explosions in the Universe. In the book, astrophysicist John I. Katz of Washington University, who has no partiality towards a geocentric universe, includes a chapter titled The Copernican Dilemma. First, Katz reminds us how we are all taught about the Copernican principle from childhood. He writes,
In school, we're taught that Mikołaj Kopernik, the Polish astronomer, also known by his Latin name Nicholas Copernicus, established that Earth and the planets revolve around the Sun, rather than the planets and Sun revolving around the Earth, as had been generally assumed since the time of the ancient Greeks. The importance of Copernicus's ideas was both philosophic and scientific. Man is not at the center of the universe, but is only an insignificant spectator, viewing its fireworks from somewhere in the bleachers. In modern times, this has been elevated into the cosmological principle, which states that if averaged over a sufficiently large region, the properties of the universe are the same everywhere. Our neighborhood is completely ordinary and unremarkable. We are not special, and our home is not special either. This is one of the foundations of nearly all modern cosmologies.
Katz then proceeds to show that the Copernican principle is being upset by some of the most astounding evidence being found in man's telescopes. His particular expertise lies with gamma-ray bursts. He writes,
The uniform distribution of burst arrival directions tells us that the distribution of gamma-ray burst sources in space is a sphere or spherical shell with us at the center. Some other extremely contrived and implausible distributions are also possible, but Copernicus taught us that we are not in a special preferred position in the universe. Earth is not at the center of the solar system. The Sun is not at the center of the galaxy, and so forth. This is the Copernican dilemma.
Katz concludes his study by saying,
To this day, after the detection of several thousand bursts, and despite earnest efforts to show the contrary, no deviation from a uniform random distribution in the directions of gamma-ray bursts on the sky has ever been convincingly demonstrated. No longer could astronomers hope that the Copernican dilemma would disappear with improved data. The data were in hand, and their implication inescapable. We are at the center of a spherically symmetric distribution of gamma-ray burst sources, and this distribution has an outer edge. Beyond the edge, the density of burst sources decreases to insignificance.
as we have seen with Hubble, Hawking, Ellis, Einstein, and the rest of the science community who still seek for a Copernican universe in spite of all the evidence to the contrary, it has become quite apparent over the last few decades that as we gather more and more evidence for a special and centrally located Earth within our vast universe, modern science has been holding on to the Copernican principle out of a philosophical commitment, not scientific data. Modern Big Bang cosmology has committed itself to interpreting any data that comes into its telescopes within the framework of the Copernican principle, while all non-Copernican systems, which fit the data much better, have been ignored or rejected.